Hey everyone, this is Dan's 3DS Reviews, and I'm just going to make a quick video here today about the best 3DS eShop games. This does not include the full retail games. I will make a best full retail games in another video shortly to come. But for now, I just want to talk about the best games you can get on the Nintendo eShop for 3DS if you're looking to get some. Okay, the first game that I want to talk about is Urban Trial Freestyle. Now, this game seems pretty underrated to me, and I haven't heard many US gamers talking about it. I noticed the game when it first went on the eShop, and I was impressed by the screenshots, but I couldn't find any gameplay footage, so I dismissed it, assuming the 3D engine probably didn't run as smoothly as the pictures made it to seem. And I'd also seen the Xbox versions and didn't think there was any way it would translate to the 3DS. But when I noticed Urban Trial Freestyle had been at the top of the Japanese eShop charts for quite a while, my interest was sparked again and I kind of picked up the game on a whim. And immediately when I turned it on, I was impressed by the sharp 3D visuals and intuitive gameplay mechanics. The game plays much like a physics puzzler, where your goal is to either achieve a high stunt score or clear a course as fast as you can, receiving a rating from 1 through 5 stars, and the higher ratings you get will allow you to unlock the next tracks as well as bonus content. The controls are really simple. Basically, you hold A to throttle or accelerate, B to brake, and you use a circle pad to balance your biker in the air, kind of like you would an Excite bike with the D-pad. And the soundtrack in the game isn't really worth listening to on its own, in my opinion. It's sort of stock sounding music, not very good quality, but the simple sound effect of the bike's motor does a good job, and it's sort of satisfying. It's a really easy game to pick up and learn really quick. It doesn't take too long to beat. It's great for pick up and play sessions, or if you want to play it for an hour or so at a time, it's not bad for that either. Like I said, very easy to control, good graphics, and a low price on the eShop, so I recommend that. Okay, the next game on my list is the Picross series, actually. Picross E on the eShop. They actually have Picross E, Picross E2, and Picross E3, as well as Mario's Picross, which is a virtual console game for Game Boy. And that's actually how I found out about this series. Mario's Picross was a Club Nintendo gift several months ago, and I played it and actually fell in love with the whole puzzle series of it. And then I picked up Picross E after beating Mario's Picross. And if you don't know what it is, it's basically an insanely addictive little puzzle game, similar in style to Sudoku. If you don't know how to play, just look up a gameplay video. Essentially, the puzzles are laid out as grids with columns and rows, and they range in size from 5 by 5, 10 by 10, and 15 by 15. And each row and column has a set of numbers by them, indicating the number of squares and spaces that need to be filled in for that column. You can't have more or less numbers than indicated in any given square, so everything must fit perfectly, just like in Sudoku. When the puzzle is solved, a small image is created out of the squares you filled in. I never really care much about what the picture is, but using the logic to solve these puzzles is very satisfying. I also find Picross to be a great game to play while listening to a podcast or music, as it seems that it doesn't take my full attention away as other games. So it's definitely a good casual pick up and play game, but I also have longer sessions with it. Okay, next game on my list is Chibi Robo Photo Finder, which I found out about through a Nintendo Direct, and I have to say, when I purchased it, I was pleasantly surprised. Chibi Robo is a game that makes a great attempt to utilize the 3DS unique features, such as using the 3D cameras for augmented reality. Essentially, the game is about this robot named Chibi Robo helping out his friends through several minigames, and for completing the games, you get happy points determined by how well you perform, and you spend these happy points in a shop on the Chibi PC, which is a laptop that acts as an in-game menu. So you spend the happy points and you print this film, and the films have cutouts of different household items, such as one that's in the shape of a cup from a fast food restaurant, an egg, a carton of milk, a roll of paper towels, and an electric outlet, just to name a few. Unfortunately, you have to make sure you have plenty of light to capture these images accurately since the 3DS cameras aren't the best quality. I would blame this more on the hardware than the software though. So once you capture the picture, it comes to life in some way in the Chibi world. I have to say it's very entertaining to see a can of soup become animated and sprout a pair of eyes and a mouth and start talking to you on the screen. Despite the limitations of the 3DS hardware, Chibi Robo does a good job bringing augmented reality back to the playing field. It is a very laid-back game. Everything from the soundtrack to the visuals make it feel like just a relaxing game you could play on a lazy Sunday afternoon. It also has clean 3D visuals and textures, and a charming cast of characters, including a smartphone who is your personal assistant, an old, excitable inspector who owns the house you live in, a slew of baby chibi robots led by an overworked octopus-looking alien bus driver, and a bizarre superhero to name a few. The minigames are all pretty straightforward, and the game is best suited for short pickup and play sessions. I find myself looking for objects I could take pictures for in the game even when I wasn't playing it. It feels like a mini scavenger hunt using everyday objects. Also, some of the minigames use the gyroscope, which actually works really well and is a fun way to play the game. Alright, next up is Gunman Clive. Now this is a great game to play if you're short on cash. I think it's like $2 in the eShop. I originally owned this game when I had an iPod Touch, but I really didn't give it much of a chance just because I had so many other games. But this game fits right in on the eShop. It's got a charming, sort of crafty sketchbook art style with an Old West theme that's a really great combination. And you can actually adjust the quality to look more like a sketchbook or less depending on how you like to play. It's just a really basic, solid platformer that doesn't take too long to beat. It's got a decent amount of difficulty, but it's not too hard. And it's worth replaying if you like platformers, as you unlock new characters each time you play it. I really don't have too much to say about it, besides that if you're broke, it's definitely worth checking out, and it's a quality game for your money. Okay, the next game on my list is actually a sweet indie game from V-Blank Entertainment, who is indie developer named Brian Provinciano. Apparently he worked for bigger game companies before and just eventually got tired of it, and so he started making his own video games. And I always love hearing the indie game developer stories of success. If you haven't seen Indie Game the Movie, check it out. But anyways, I found out about this game through a Nintendo Direct, as I did a lot of these games, a couple months ago, and it immediately interested me. It was described as a Super Nintendo-style Grand Theft Auto. Little did I know the ludicrous amount of video game references that would be littered pleasantly all throughout this game. I mean, in the first half an hour, there was so many odes to games of the past, like Contra, Ninja Turtles, and Back to the Future references. It's just loaded with them. And the campaign in the game is fairly quick, but it's enjoyable. I beat it in about 7 hours, and I was playing at a relaxed pace. Unlike GTA, though, the city in Retro City Rampage isn't much fun to really drive around, and hang around in. It's not that it's not fun to drive, but it just doesn't have the same atmosphere that you do in a more realistic game like Grand Theft Auto, but I don't think that's what it's really trying to do. Although Retro City Rampage sacrifices that realistic feel like Grand Theft Auto has for the sake of the retro appeal and art style, it does still have tons of little side quests and shops throughout the town, as well as radio stations created by several chiptune artists. For example, they have weapons stores and even trucks you can buy weapons at, to buy bionic arms and Uzis. They have car shops to paint your vehicle when you're trying to escape the cops, or load it up with a machine gun. They also have coffee stands that give your player a quick hyperactive boost to run even faster across the map or escape cops, and a milk bar that gets your character drunk and puts this trippy effect all over the screen for a short amount of time. It makes it kind of hard to drive, and it's kind of fun. Overall, it is a very entertaining and pretty hilarious game for a fair price. I also really like supporting indie developers, so definitely check it out if you're in the need for a retro fix loaded with nostalgia. And if you want to learn more about the development of the game, just go on Reddit and look for the Ask Me Anything that Brian did, and there's some really interesting information on there. Okay, last but not least on my list is a game that came out very early in the life of the eShop on the 3DS called Mutant Mudds. And this game is another game that really is a callback to platformers of the past with a very pixelated art style and great chiptune soundtrack that actually makes each level a real joy to listen to. The style of the chiptunes is like really high quality and it just kind of really well written. I was impressed. And I'm a sucker for these retro style games, so I was pretty much immediately sold. And Mutant Mudds is a short but challenging game, and for each stage there are 2 bonus stages which can be unlocked. The main stages grow steadily in difficulty, and the bonus stages can be a lot more hard. I died so many times in the bonus stages that I wanted to snap my 3DS in half. I was like throwing it at my pillow and so frustrated, but at the same time I couldn't put my 3DS down. Like I wanted to beat the game so bad, and eventually I 100% cleared it, unlocked everything, and it was really fun. I'm not sure if I'll be going back to it, but I definitely enjoyed it. The difficulty of the bonus levels sort of reminded me of Super Meat Boy because I was dying so many times. And that's not to fear though, the main stages have a very fair difficulty for players who aren't as interested in a huge challenge. There's still a challenge, but not as difficult as these bonus stages. It's a really fairly priced eShop game. It's also by an indie developer who made some other games on the eShop that I wasn't as fond of, but this developer is making a sweet first-person shooter for the 3DS called Moon Chronicles, and there's some gameplay footage for it that looks pretty cool, so I'm excited to see what this guy has to share. If you like this video and want to see more 3DS material, just subscribe and leave a comment and like, and I will try to keep more coming up. If you are on Tumblr, you can search for my blog, which is play3ds, all one word, .tumblr, play3ds.tumblr.com, and you can find more from me there. Thanks for watching.